Welcome to the Secrets for Success podcast. I'm your host, Greg Todd. Thank you as always for joining me, my friends. I appreciate you all as always. This episode, I'm going to talk about SSHC Live 2025. It has not happened yet this year. It's not going to happen this year. I want to talk about why it didn't happen this year. I want to give you guys the full reasons behind it. It's probably my most viewed video in my Facebook group last week on why we decided not to move forward with it. A few different changes that's going on in my life right now, and what we are going to be doing and what we're doing moving forward. And so I actually said in the video that I did in my Facebook group, which over 1,000 people have already viewed it since me doing it, I actually said I was going to do this in a podcast, but last week things kind of got a little haywire. We had team members that were sick. We just had a lot of things going on. We're actually hosting an event right now. We're day 3 of the event. I get a break right now. The team is doing this segment of the event. So I said, let me come up here and let me do the podcast before we release it to you guys, in the next day or so. So with that said, SSHC Live 2025 didn't happen. I've done that event, I think 7 times. So I started that event in 2017. 17, 18, 19. Didn't do it in 2020 because of COVID. 2021, 2023, 2024. So I've actually done the event 6 times. And it's been an epic event. Big, high energy, lots of amazing connections. I get to award my clients that are doing extremely well. I get to put them on stages. I'm a big believer of stages. Part of the reason why I even started SSHC Live is because of how hard it was for me to be able to share and give value on stages because I wasn't in the good old boy network, of the establishments. And so I basically had to create my own stage. And I feel like because I've been able to create that stage, I want to bless it with people that I feel have a great message to bring to others. And so that's why I did the event. And my initial goal was to make that event bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger every single year. But it didn't happen this year, and didn't happen for many reasons. Sometimes I think we get these nudgings, and I believe those nudgings are the Holy Spirit. And I felt that last year. Before the event, I felt that I wasn't going to do the event this upcoming year. And I actually said it to people. I said, you know what? I'm not going to be doing SSHC Live for 2025. But then the event happened. And you want to know what I compare this to? I compare it to when I used to run marathons. So when I used to run marathons, I would train for the event. train. And sometimes you kind of get burned out with all the work and the preparation that it takes to pull off the big race, right? And then you do the race, and the race is sometimes really, really, really brutal, right? But then somewhere in the middle of the race, it's so exhausting that, I don't know, some enlightenment happens and you get so excited with the whole energy of it that you're like, oh my gosh, what's the next marathon I need to do, right? And after it, you're just like, you feel brutal, because it's so hard to run 26.2 miles. SSHC Live, the whole experience of it, the preparation, this, that, da, 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 it's very similar to a marathon, and last year at the 2024 event, it was the Saturday night. We had just finished the party. I was talking with my team, and I said, we got to do this event next year. And that night, we ended up staying up and saying to people, okay, we're going to do the event next year. But after the event's over, I was just like, everything just didn't feel right. It was unsettling in my spirit. About 3 months after the event ends, my wife shared with me something that she felt when she was on a stage. I usually bring my family up at some point in the event. They don't like to be on stage. They don't like all the public stuff, but they are a huge part of this whole story of me becoming an entrepreneur and all this other stuff, And so I like to acknowledge them because they have to deal with all the stuff behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see. Anyways, my wife said to me a few months after the event, she said that when she went on the stage, she knew that she was not going to be on this stage next year. Now, she said she was fighting the thoughts, but she said she didn't know if that meant that she was going to die. She didn't know if that meant that me and her were going to get a divorce. She didn't know if that meant that we weren't going to do the event. She just said, I knew I wouldn't be here next year. And that just gave me even more confirmation that this is not the right move for us this year. So guys, I want to tell you, the first thing is that I just truly do feel like God is pointing me in another direction. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't do the event. Now, there's also some other reasons too, and I'm going to share some of them with you guys on the podcast. You know, before SSPT, from 2005 to even today, I mean, today I still own a portion of the company, but Renewal Rehab was what allowed me to basically have the success that I had, to even allow me to start Smart Success for Physical Therapists, which is now SSHC. None of this happens without building the asset of Renewal Rehab. Okay, none of this happens. All right, Renewal Rehab, I took out a $180,000 line of credit on my house. I did 3 investments. The main one was Renewal Rehab. I did a Forex exchange investment, which ended up being a Ponzi scheme. Many of you have heard this story. And I invested in a brand new townhouse in Valrico, Florida with my dad. And I ended up having to short sale it because my dad couldn't afford it and times got really tough. And I realized that I couldn't handle this and my mortgage and my business all at the same time. So I ended up short selling it, messed up my credit, blah, 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 and all this other stuff. So with that said, one of the 3 investments that I did worked. And Renewal Rehab has gone on to generate over, I think, 35 million, at this point, kind of now on its tail end of, but we still have 1 clinic left. And I want to share with you guys part of the business reason of why I realized that SSHC Live, the way that I was doing it, didn't really make sense. As amazing as all the events have been, and I have had plenty of impact and made plenty of money from the events, I walk away from these events every single year with nothing to show for it with regards to the actual investment of the place that I'm hosting the event. So let me bring you guys into the business of events. I give my money to either the Marriott, to the Wyndham Grand, to different places that we do these events at. And the events on average cost anywhere on the low end. I did my first event at maybe about $60,000. On the high end, these events are about maybe $400,000. I have given over $2 million in hotel fees. I'm talking allowing the hotel to give me the place to be able to do the events. The food and beverage, which is usually somewhere between $50,000 to $100,000 that you have to give to these hotels. I have spent and invested spent over $2 million giving it to these hotels. And when you leave the hotel, what do you have to show for it? Well, I get clients, we have a great time, but I have no asset. And let me tell you something, guys. I understand that coaching, consulting, everything that I do is energy. And I'm getting older, okay? I'm getting older. And my events, you guys know, if you've been to my events are very, very, very energy-based. And even last year, I realized like the final day of the event, my knee was it was swollen. I couldn't even bend my knee. I couldn't straighten my right knee. Nobody really knew, right? I was still dancing. I was still doing my thing. But I realized I can't do these events in this manner for another 10 years. I can't. My wife and I were in our room, not to give you TMI, but we were in our hotel room. It was about 1 a.m. in the morning, and she hears me screaming, and I'm like, ah! She's like, what did I do? And my whole body had seized up. I was cramping in my groin, my hamstrings, my quads, and it wouldn't stop. And we didn't know what to do to get it to stop. And I ended up just telling her, I think we might have to call I might have to go to the hospital or something. She's like, babe, I think we need to call the ambulance. Like, I couldn't get my cramping to stop. I just realized that, oh my gosh, my body can't do this. My body can't do 4, 5, 6, 7 days straight of what I'm giving to people. And I realized that, dude, you're 46 years old, bro. Like, this can't continue to, I can only do this for maybe a couple more years. No different than anybody else. Many of you have felt that depletion, burnout, and I love the events. I love it. But I realized that, okay, when all is said and done, like, if I only got a couple more years left of this, what do I really have to show for it? Now, let me tell you something. I want to tell you guys this. Renewal Rehab. I want to go back to this for a second. I had 3 clinics with Renewal Rehab. I now only have 1. Can I tell you why? Because I didn't own any of those clinics. I owned the business, but I didn't own the clinics. And let me tell you the situations that happened, why we've gone from 3 to 1. Because in 2022 or 2020, I think it was end of 2022, early 2023, we got a notice from our landlord. And that notice, it was actually a phone call. And he said, hey, Greg, can I talk to you? Sure. This is for my Wesley Chapel clinic. This happened first, and then the Largo one eventually happened. And basically my landlord, who's an amazing guy, we had a great relationship for nearly 15 years. He said, Greg, I'm selling the building. Now, my landlord gave me the opportunity to buy the building twice. One was in 2006, before we even got, like when we just took on that lease. He said, if you want to buy this from me, you can. This is what, and I didn't have the money and the resources to buy at that time. And then he gave me the opportunity, I think in like 2010, when the market kind of went down. Remember when all the bank collapsed and we had all the stock market crash and whatnot? He gave me the opportunity to buy then because he was losing money, I guess, from the building at that time. And I said no both times. So guess what? He never gave me a third option. He said, Greg, I'm selling the building. I said, and this is in 2022, 2023, I said to him, Narsing, I will buy the building. And there was a pause on the phone. And he said, okay. And then the next day, he called me back. And I don't think he had the guts to tell me at that time. But basically what he said to me is, Greg, I already sold it. I sold it already. And I sold it to somebody else. So I was like, oh, really? Oh, wow. Because now I'm in a spot where I can buy it. And he said, hey, I already sold it. So I said, okay. He's like, but I'll put you in touch with the people that I sold it to. I said, all right. So the next day, he put me in touch with those people. I ended up getting in contact with them maybe a day or two later. And they said, oh, no, actually, we've been meaning to get in contact with you. We're giving you a 30-day notice to get out because we're going to be using this space. It was actually a doctor who was doing a med spa. And guys, I had been at that clinic for over 15 years. I think 18 years. 18 years, and I got 30 days to get out. And I had to make a decision. Do I shut down the clinic, which was our bread and butter clinic? Do I shut down the clinic or do we move? And we had 30 days to move, and we ended up getting into a lease that wasn't favorable. There was nothing available. It's still, remember now, 2022, early 2023. People are still flocking into Florida in droves from all these other states. And it wasn't good. Basically, it ended up we having to shut down the clinic. You know, we had to shut down. I mean, we went into another lease, but we lost so much of the goodwill and all the branding that came from being at that location. We ended up shutting down the clinic. And Largo, the same thing. I didn't own it. And ended up having to shut down the clinic. And what I realized is that, and this is part of the business decision that went into doing these events and just giving my money to hotels doesn't make sense long term. Now, you see this place right here? Okay, this place is our Largo place. I bought a place in the end of 2022 in Blue Ridge, Georgia. We have basically realigned ourselves in our company on how we do our events. My events are no longer 200, 300, 400 people. My events are 5 to 10 people at a time. It's a higher cost, but it is a much more transformational event because people get to work with me. It's not as exhausting on my body. They get to work with my team. We actually do a specific result of every single event. the people leave with work done, not just a bunch of energy and hype. And okay, these are all the things you can do. And I'm not trying to discredit my events before. They were amazing. But this allows me to not do the event once a year. It allows me to do the event sometimes twice or 3 times a month. It's easier on my body. It's something that's sustainable. It allows my team to be even more involved. No, we're not able to give all these big awards. No, I don't have, DJs that I'm paying thousands of dollars to. No, I don't have all the bright lights and whatnot. But it's something that, number one, is more in alignment with where I'm at physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Shoot, we just had a mini church service downstairs with our clients. My staff is actually running the event right now as I'm doing this podcast for you all. And I finished the event and I don't need to get IVs. Can I tell you something? At our events at SSHC Live, if we have 200 people at the event, we could expect 10 to 20% of people come into our higher level programs. At these events that I do here, when I am opting people to, inviting them to come into our programs, about 75% of the people are coming into our programs. 7 out of 10 versus over there, 1 to 2 out of 10. These events are just much more impactful. You guys, let me tell you something. I'm telling you this for this reason. I'm telling you this because I had to let go of my ego. The biggest thing that I had to let go of is what would people say if I didn't do SSHC Live? Oh, Greg Todd's washed, or this or that, or, like whatever it is. As entrepreneurs, we're always thinking bigger, 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 bigger. But at the end of the day, we have to think of alignment, and what makes sense for us. And from a business standpoint, can I tell you something? Well, the places that I do my events at now, guess what? My company now has to pay, instead of the Wyndham Graham, has to pay those real estate holdings to host the events there. Guess what has happened? Guess what is happening? If I decide I'm going to shut down my events right now, I own those places. Those places are my companies. And besides having the events here, we also short-term rental these locations, and we're adding more and more locations. But if everything goes away, guess what? It's something I can leave for my children. Something I can leave for my children's children. I just want you guys to understand that, I wasn't building assets in those other ways. I understand that my time is going to come to an end. It might be 2 years, it might be next year. Shoot, I might die in a car accident next week. I hope not. But I don't know. But now I actually can say that I didn't leave the Wyndham Grand or stocks or shares in the Wyndham Grand to my family. But I sure as heck am leaving this. Guys, I'm just letting you know. Everything that I do, I'm doing it for a reason. Now, can I also tell you something else? And I will share the personal news of big happenings that are happening in my life and my family's life. I'll share it very soon, just not today. But I also want to tell you that it allowed me to slow down. And because I wasn't so engulfed and obsessed with creating this massive, huge event for my people, there were certain things that I didn't know that were going on, and certain things that I needed to deal with on a personal level that I don't think I would have had the emotional bandwidth to be able to do had I opted to not do the event. And there's certain things that I'm dealing with on a personal level. I will share when it's time to share. But it's also meaning that I'm going to be making some very big moves personally. And I'm very happy about those things. But I don't think I would, as entrepreneurs, we live in such chaos that sometimes this chaos allows us to run away by serving other people from the things that we need to deal with. And I feel like this year I've been able to deal with things that I probably needed to deal with from before, but now I'm dealing with them. And so on a personal level, I'm dealing with things that I need to deal with right now that I don't think I would have been able to deal with had I stayed and continued to do SSHC Live in the way that I'm doing it. So with that said, I hope this podcast episode brings you value. I hope you hear from my heart. I hope my vulnerability I'm not doing it to be dramatic. I'm doing it just to keep it real with you guys and let you know that I don't have all this stuff figured out. I don't. But I'm trying to do the right things for all the different hats that I wear as an entrepreneur, serving the audience that I serve, which is you, but also as a father, as a husband, as a child of God, trying to live my life right. And I'm trying to do what I need to do. So sometimes I take off one hat and I put on the other hat and I make the decisions that I need to make. And so that's what I did. And that's why we didn't do SSHC Live. Now, will we do something at some point in this year? Probably. It'll probably be virtually. If you do want to work with me at one of my private events, I'm more than happy to share with you. You can. I'm not trying to sell this to you, but if you want to text me, or you want to reach out to me, and just say I'm interested in the private events that you do and what is it and how you do it. I'm not going to use this podcast to talk about that, but yeah, that's what I do now. And at least for right now, I think the big live events are put on pause. I think it just makes more sense to do it the way that I'm doing it right now. So anyways, I love you guys. I thank you. Sorry about not doing podcasts last week, but here we are and we're back at it. All right. Much love. I hope that helped you and gave you value. Later.